It is a Tuesday afternoon. Nothing dramatic is happening. You are somewhere with a computer or a phone. It is probably mid-afternoon, and for whatever reason, maybe HR just sent an open enrollment email. Maybe your company switched benefits platforms. Maybe you turned 40 last week, and the number itself did something to your thinking. You open your retirement account tab, maybe for the first time in years, maybe for the first time ever. And the number is just sitting there, not the number you imagined when you were 28 and genuinely plan to sort all of this out eventually. The actual number, which is either zero or close enough to zero that the difference does not really matter. Maybe there is a few $1,000s in there from a job you had in your early 30s that you never bothered to roll over. Maybe the account literally says zero. And for a moment, not a dramatic moment, just a Tuesday afternoon moment, you feel it. That specific quiet drop in your stomach. That is not quite panic, but is not nothing either. The feeling of a math problem you have been avoiding for a very long time, finally showing up on an exam you cannot postpone. My name is Nick, and I have spent a genuinely unreasonable amount of time thinking about what happens when regular people arrive at exactly that moment. If you have ever closed that retirement tab faster than you opened it, because looking at the number felt worse than not knowing it. Make sure to subscribe and hit that like button, because by the end of this video, you are going to know exactly what that number needs to become, how fast you can realistically get it there from a standing start at 40, and why the math is survivable in a way that your 2 a.m. anxiety will refuse to believe right up until I show you the actual numbers. This is the full plan. Grab a coffee and stay until the end, because I am going to show you a specific rule in the federal tax code that was built for exactly your situation that most people in their 40s have never heard of. I am saving it for later because it hits much harder once you understand the foundation underneath it. Let's start with the honest version of where you actually stand. Because here's the thing about being 40 with nothing in a retirement account. It feels catastrophic. I understand completely why it feels catastrophic. The standard retirement benchmark says you should have roughly 3 times your annual salary saved by 40. For most of the people watching this video, that is somewhere between $150,000 and $250,000, and you have none of it. The gap does not feel like a math problem. It feels like a verdict. Here is something that should recalibrate that feeling immediately. You are not alone, and I do not mean that in the motivational poster sense. I mean it statistically. Federal Reserve data shows the median retirement savings among Americans aged 35 to 44 is about $45,000, not $150,000, not 3 times salary, $45,000. And for households in the bottom half of the income distribution in that age group, the median is effectively zero. About 45% of American households have no dedicated retirement savings of any kind. Not a little, none. The benchmark you are measuring yourself against, the one that made you feel like you failed, is not where most people actually are. The real bar is on the floor, and you are about to step over it with a plan. Most people never have. But here is what the math actually says about your situation. And I need you to really hear this, because it is not the same thing as what the feeling says. You have 25 years. If you are 40 today and you plan to retire at 65, you have 25 full years of compound growth ahead of you. And 25 years of compound growth is not a consolation prize. It is not the participation trophy version of retirement investing. 25 years is enough time to build real wealth from a standing start, not theoretical wealth, not modest, barely scraping by wealth. Real retire with options wealth. Here is a number to anchor to. If you invest $1,000 a month starting today at 40 at a historically conservative 7% average annual return, you arrive at 65 with approximately $810,000 from zero. Not because you did something clever, not because you timed the market, just because you started and then did not stop. Now, I am not going to pretend that is the same outcome as starting at 25. Someone investing $500 a month starting at 25 ends up closer to $1.4 million on less monthly money. The math of starting earlier is real, and I am not going to dress it up with false optimism because this channel does not do that. But here is what most people in their 40s who feel behind get completely wrong about their own situation. The 5-year-old who started early and stayed disciplined is not who you are competing with. The real competition is the version of yourself who delays another 2 years, waiting for the right moment to begin. And there is another comparison worth making. The person who started at 25, but then drifted, left their 401k sitting at 3%. Contributions for a decade because the enrollment form was confusing, got talked into some whole life policy at 34, never increased contributions when raises came through, stopped paying attention. That person is often in a meaningfully worse position than someone who starts from zero at 40 with full focus and a real plan. Starting late with a plan is not the same as starting late. The math is serious, it is not catastrophic, and the difference between serious and catastrophic is the next 12 months. Before we build the plan, though, I want to spend a few minutes on something most personal finance content skips entirely. Because if you do not address it, it is going to sit in the back of your head and quietly undermine everything else I am about to tell you. If you are 40 with nothing saved, you are almost certainly not here because you are bad with money. That is the story the financial industry tells about people who did not use their products on schedule. It is largely untrue. Here is what actually happened to most people in your situation. Nobody taught you this. Not meaningfully. The US public education system does not teach personal finance in any real form. Not how compound interest works against you in debt or for you in investment. Not what a 401k actually is, as opposed to how to fill out the enrollment form. Not what an employer match means in actual dollars over a career. Your first job handed you a 16-page benefits enrollment packet written in the language of people who already understand all of this, and you were 22, and student loans were eating 30% of your paycheck. And locking money away until you were 65 felt genuinely abstract in the way that only things 43 years away can feel. Then your 30S happened, and your 30S had a cost. Maybe it was children and childcare in this country now. Costs more in some cities than a second rent. Maybe it was a divorce, which is financially one of the most destructive events that can happen to a household and which resets retirement planning clocks across an entire generation of Americans every year without ever making the headlines it deserves. Maybe it was a health event, a business that did not survive, or years of contract and gig work where no employer-sponsored plan existed. Maybe you looked at the numbers every year and correctly decided that eliminating high-interest debt first was the smarter move because it is, and I will show you why in a moment. Maybe nothing dramatic happened at all, and you simply never had a starting line, and without one, the clock never started. None of those things make you the cautionary tale. They make you the person who now has a plan. Before we get into the framework, I need to plant something. There is a specific provision in the federal tax code, not a loophole, not something designed exclusively for wealthy people that exists for people who are starting serious retirement saving later in life. It kicks in at age 50, and it unlocks contribution limits that are meaningfully higher than what every other investor gets to use. Most people in their 40s have never heard of it because most financial content is built for people who started at 25. I am going to show you exactly what it does and what it means in actual dollar amounts for a real person. But I am holding it until after the foundation because once you understand the base plan, the catch up section is going to feel like a reward rather than just another number to absorb. Keep it in the back of your mind. And before we build the plan, I need you to actually feel how 25 years works, not just nod at the concept. Because compounding is one of those things where most people intellectually agree it is powerful while completely failing to feel it. Here is the illustration I keep coming back to. You invest $10,000 today, and it grows at 7% per year. Year one, you earn $700. Fine. Dinner for the whole family and maybe a hotel room. Year two, though, you earn 7% on $10,700, not on the original $10,000. The gains themselves start generating gains. Year 10, you are earning 7% on nearly $20,000. Year 20 on roughly $40,000. Year 25, that single $10,000 has become about $54,000 without you adding another dollar. You did not touch it, you just did not interfere. Stack automatic monthly contributions on top of that, and the math stops feeling like arithmetic and starts feeling like something someone should have told you about at 22. The reason compounding feels like a scam for the first several years is that it is extremely front-loaded in boredom and extremely backloaded in acceleration. The 0-year-old who starts today is going to sit through several years of modest growth, look at the balance in year 4, do the math, and feel like nothing is working. It is working. The machine moves slowly at first and very fast later. The entire game is surviving the slow part. And the single biggest threat to surviving the slow part is doing something dramatic during a market downturn, which is exactly why the order of the plan matters as much as the investments inside it. Now, the plan, and specifically the order. The order matters in a way most people do not understand, and one of the most common mistakes late starters make is reorganizing the sequence based on what feels most emotionally urgent. Pay all the debt off first, then invest. Or invest aggressively to catch up, then handle everything else. The sequence is not based on feelings. It is ordered by guaranteed return. You always do the thing with the highest guaranteed return first and work your way down. Step 1. High interest debt. If you are carrying a credit card balance right now, I have a piece of genuinely good news for you. I understand how strange that sentence sounds when it is about debt. The average credit card in America today charges somewhere between 21 and 24% interest. Americans are collectively sitting on about $1.25 trillion of this, and here is the reframe that changes how you think about it. Permanently, paying off a 22% credit card is mathematically identical to finding an investment that pays you a guaranteed, tax-free, zero-risk, 22% annual return. Let me put that in real perspective. Warren Buffett averaged about 20% per year over his entire career. Vanguard is currently projecting U.S. stocks will return somewhere between 3.5 and 5.5% annually over the next decade. And you, with a credit card balance, have access to a guaranteed 22% return. There is no fund, no stock, no crypto, no real estate deal anywhere in the financial universe that reliably returns 22% with zero risk. None. Every dollar of debt above 7% interest gets destroyed before serious market investing begins. Above 7%, kill the debt first. Below 5%, you can reasonably invest alongside it. Between 5 and 7%, That is a coin flip. Do whichever one lets you sleep. Step 2, the emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of essential expenses in a high yield savings account, not a regular bank account, which in 2026 pays approximately 0.38% while inflation runs close to 4%. A high yield account, which currently pays around 3.5% in this rate environment. Same FDIC insurance, 12 times the interest, 10 minutes to open online. The emergency fund is not a savings product. It is armor for your investment portfolio. And here is why it matters more for someone starting at 40. Market downturns have impeccable timing. They love arriving in the same season as layoffs, medical bills, and transmissions that decide to fail in January. If your investments are your only financial buffer, a bad month will force you to sell at the exact bottom of a downturn, converting a temporary paper loss into a permanent real one. At 40, with 25 years ahead, you have less runway to recover from a forced sale at the bottom than you did at 30. The emergency fund is what guarantees you will never be in that position. You do not need the full 6 months before you start investing. Get 1 month saved as a starter buffer, kill the toxic debt, capture your 401k match, and build the rest of the emergency fund in parallel. Step 3, the 401k match. This is where most 0-year olds who have not been paying close attention discover they have been leaving serious money on the table for years without knowing it. If your employer offers a match on 401k contributions, capturing it is the single highest returning financial action available anywhere in the system. Not slightly better than alternatives, categorically better in a different universe entirely. Here is what a match actually is. If your company matches 100% of the first 3% of your salary, contributing 3% of your income results in your employer immediately, depositing another 3%. That is an instant 100% return on your money before the stock market has done a single thing. Before Monday morning, Warren Buffett averaged 20% annually over his career. He would consider this unfair. Americans collectively leave roughly $24 billion of this free money on the table every single year. The average under contributor forfeits about $1,336 annually. Compounded over 20 years, that is approximately $43,000 that did not exist because the enrollment form was confusing and 3 HR follow-up emails got archived. Log into your 401k portal this week. Find the match structure. Contribute at least enough to capture every dollar of it. Non-negotiable, regardless of what else is happening in your financial life. In 2026, the standard 401k limit is $24,500. For now, just hit the mat. The ceiling comes later. Step 4, the Roth IRA. You open this yourself at any major brokerage in about the time it takes to order takeout. Fidelity, Schwab, Vanguard. In 2026, you can contribute up to $7,500 per year, as long as your income is under $153,000 as a single feeler. The deal: you pay tax on the money before it goes in, it grows for decades, and every dollar of it, every penny you contributed, and every dollar the market added on top comes out completely tax-free in retirement. The government gets nothing on the growth. Zero. At 40, the Roth versus traditional decision is slightly different from how it looks at 25, and I want to walk through it quickly. If you are in a low to middle tax bracket, roughly $40,000 to $100,000 in taxable income, the Roth is almost certainly right. You are locking in today's relatively low tax rate on contributions that compound for 25 years completely tax-free. If you are a high earner in your peak years, maxing your traditional pre-tax 401k first might make more sense because the deduction now is worth more in real dollars. Most people watching this should be in a Roth. If you are genuinely not sure, splitting 50 to 50 between Roth and traditional is not a wrong answer. One more practical note, because open a brokerage account stops people for months, and it should stop you for about one lunch break. Fidelity, Schwab, or Vanguard. All three offer zero commission trades, no account minimums, and fractional shares, meaning if a fund trades at $600 a share, you can buy $50 worth of it. Fidelity's app is the smoothest for most beginners. Vanguard invented the whole philosophy, but their app feels like it was designed during an earlier era of the internet. Schwab sits comfortably in the middle. Pick one, open the Roth IRA, connect your bank, buy the target date fund, set the automatic monthly contribution, and move on with your life. One thing I want to name clearly because it trips people up: an account is not an investment. A Roth IRA is a Roth IRA container with specific tax rules. The investment is what you put inside the container. A lot of people open a Roth IRA and then leave the money sitting in a cash account inside it, earning nothing while they research what to invest in. That money is not invested. Buy the target date fund the same day you open the account. One purchase. Done. Step 5. Back to the 401k, past the match, and toward the ceiling. The standard limit in 2026 is $24,500. Once your high interest debt is eliminated and your emergency fund is solid, start pushing toward this ceiling as aggressively as your income allows. Every dollar going in is pre-tax, which means the actual cost to your take-home pay is lower than the contribution amount. The tax code is subsidizing part of your retirement savings whether you take advantage of it or not. That is the full sequence. High interest debt, emergency fund, full 401k match, Roth IRA, maximize the 401k. That sequence, executed consistently, puts you ahead of the majority of American investors at any age. Now let's talk about what to actually buy inside those accounts, because this is where late starters most often make the mistake that quietly unravels everything the sequence built. When you feel behind, the instinct is to compensate with more risk. Individual stocks, leveraged ETFs, concentrated sector bets, something capable of returning 30% in a year instead of 7% to close the gap in years rather than decades. That instinct is understandable. It is also specifically, provably wrong for your situation. When you have 25 years, your most valuable asset is not a higher expected return. It is uninterrupted time in the market. A late starter who takes a 40% loss in year 2 of a concentrated bet and spends years 3 through 5. Recovering is not catching up. They are running in place while the compounding calendar keeps moving. The sequence of returns problem. When you take your big losses matters enormously. Not just how large they are punishes concentrated risk-taking more severely for late starters than almost any other investor type. The right strategy is boring. Total market index funds, low fees, automatic contributions, and leave it alone. One fund does the entire job. A target date index fund set to your approximate retirement year holds US stocks, international stocks, and bonds, automatically rebalances, and gradually gets more conservative as you approach retirement. At Vanguard or Schwab, it costs about 0.08% per year. You buy it once and never have to think about allocation again if you want to build it yourself. 60% US total market, 30% international, 10% bonds. 3 tickers, the entire investable planet, total cost roughly 4/100ths of 1% annually. The best portfolio is not the one with the highest theoretical return. It is the one you will actually hold through a 30% drawdown without selling everything and destroying the math. Now, let me show you all of this working for one actual person, because watching the numbers run for one specific human being is worth more than another 10 statistics. Meet Marcus. He is 41 years old. He earns $72,000 a year as a project manager at a company that offers a 401k with a 100% match on the first 3% of his salary. After taxes, his take home is about $4,600 a month. After rent, utilities, groceries, car payment, and a handful of subscriptions he cannot quite account for, Marcus has roughly $1,800 a month available. He has $4,200 on a credit card at 22.9% interest. His checking account has $400. His 401k contribution rate until last month was 0. Not because he could not afford it, because 6 years ago, when he started this job, HR handed him a 16-page enrollment packet with fund names he did not recognize, and he meant to come back to it. Month 1, Marcus does 4 things. He sets his 401k contribution to 3%. That is $180 a month from his paycheck. His employer immediately matches it with another $180. $360 a month is now moving into his retirement account. That employer match alone is $2,160 per year in free money. He was previously donating back to his company out of what can only be called administrative neglect. He opens a high-yield savings account and moves his $400 into it. Starter emergency buffer. He opens a Roth IRA at Fidelity, does not put money in yet, just opens the account. The mental barrier is gone. Every remaining dollar of his $1,800 monthly surplus after the 401k contribution has already been removed from his paycheck before he ever sees it goes at the credit card. Roughly $450 a month. By month 9, the card is dead. He just earned a guaranteed 22.9% tax-free return on $4,200. Better than Nvidia's best year, better than Bitcoin's best year in recent memory. And it was guaranteed months 9 through 14. That same $450 a month builds his emergency fund to $6,000, roughly 4 months of essential expenses, earning 3.5% in a high yield account while it does its actual job, ensuring that no car repair, no medical bill, no sudden income disruption can ever force him to liquidate investments at the worst possible moment. Month 15. Marcus opens the Fidelity app, sets an automatic $450 monthly investment into a target date 2050 index fund at 0.12% per year, and closes the app. He now has $360 going into the 401k with match and $450 into the Roth. $9,720 per year moving into retirement accounts automatically. Tape this forward at 7% return, no raises, no contribution. Increases. No clever moves, just $9,720 a year for 24 years. Marcus arrives at 65 with approximately $607,000. He had 0 at 41. He has $607,000 at 65 because he did 4 things in month 1 and then left it alone. Now let's run the version where Marcus behaves like a real person who earns raises and responds sensibly. A 2% raise every 3 years. A 1% contribution increase each time, which costs him nothing in take-home pay because the raise absorbs it. By age 50, he is contributing around 6% of a salary that has grown to roughly $79,000. Add the employer match, add a growing Roth contribution, and by 65, Marcus is somewhere between $950,000 and $1.1 million. And that is before he turns 50. Because Marcus turns 50 inches 9 years. And when he does, the federal government hands him a set of keys that almost nobody in their 40s knows about. These are called catch-up contributions. Here is exactly what they unlock. Standard 401k limit in 2026, $24,500. The year you turn 50, you can contribute an additional $7,500 on top of that. Total 401k limit at 50, $32,000, nearly $8,000 more per year pre-tax, compounding from 50 to 65. Standard Roth IRA limit, $7,500. At 50, add another $1,000. Total Roth limit at 50, $8,500 per year. Now, here is the one almost nobody is talking about. Under the Secure 2 Act, Congress added a special enhanced catch-up window for ages 60 through 63 specifically. During those 4 years, the additional 401k catch-up is not $7,500. It is the greater of $10,000 or 150% of the standard catch-up limit. In 2026, that works out to roughly $11,000. $250 in extra 401k contributions per year above the base limit. For those 4 years, the door is open even wider than it is at 50. Let me put the full picture in real dollars. A 40-year-old who starts today and maximizes catch-up contributions from age 50 onward, including that enhanced window from 60 to 63, can put in somewhere between $150,000 and $200,000 more over their working life than someone without access to those elevated limits. At 7%, that additional money compounding from 50 to 65 adds between $250,000 and $350,000 to the final number. Congress wrote these rules because they understood that life derails people, divorces happen, health events happen, businesses fail, decades pass without employer-sponsored plans. The catch-up contribution is not an obscure technicality buried in the tax code. It is a deliberate on-ramp built for exactly your situation by people who understood that not everyone arrives at 50 on schedule. The only requirement is that you be there to use it, which means the plan you start this month is what puts you in position to cash it in a decade from now. Now, about automation, because I want to be more specific about why this matters than most personal finance content is. There is a research firm called Dalbar that runs the study every year, tracking two numbers: what the stock market returned and what the average investor in that market actually earned. You would think those numbers would be nearly identical. Same market, same years. They are not, and they are not close. In 2024, the S&P 500 returned just over 25%. The average equity fund investor earned 16.5%, an 8.5 percentage point gap, not from fees, not from fraud, from behavior. People bought after things went up, sold after things went down, sat in cash waiting for clarity, jumped back in late, and repeated the cycle. The market handed everyone 25%, and the average person fumbled a third of it. Automation removes your behavior from the equation entirely. Your contribution goes out on the same day every month, regardless of what the news said on Tuesday. When markets are up, your fixed amount buys fewer shares. When they crash, it buys more. Your emotions are never consulted at any point in the process. The automatic transfer is not a convenience feature. It is the single most reliable performance enhancement available to any human investor, and it costs exactly nothing to implement. Before you leave this video, 4 specific traps, because the moment you are a 4-0, something with clear investment, intentions, and visible income, a very specific set of people and products will materialize to help you do this. Wrong. Trap 1. The swing bigger to catch up logic. This one comes from inside your own head, which makes it harder to defend against than any salesperson. The idea having less time means you should compensate with higher volatility bets, individual growth stocks, leveraged ETFs, concentrated sector positions in whatever asset class is generating headlines. It feels like urgency and strategy. It is neither. The data on high concentration portfolios for investors with 20 to 25-year horizons consistently shows worse outcomes than diversified index investing because the sequence of returns problem punishes aggressive portfolios in ways that wipe out good years. A 40% loss in year 2 of a concentrated position takes roughly 7 years of 7% gains just to break even. During those 7 years, the boring index investor got 7 uninterrupted, compounding years. You cannot catch up by falling behind first. Stay boring. Trap 2. Whole life insurance sold as a retirement savings vehicle. At some point, usually right after your first serious financial planning conversation in your 40s, someone from your extended network will resurface to explain a product that combines life insurance and investment savings in a single package. It is a worse version of both. The embedded fees are substantial. The returns reliably underperform a simple 3-fund portfolio. The commissions on these products are extraordinary, which is why they found you rather than the other way around. If people depend on your income, buy cheap term life insurance, invest the difference in index funds, and let the conversation end there. Trap 3. Annuities pitched to worried late starters. Annuities get sold aggressively to people starting retirement planning late because the fear of outliving your money is real, and annuities offer a story about guaranteed lifetime income that sounds compelling when the math feels uncertain. Some annuities, in specific circumstances, serve a legitimate purpose. Most annuities actively pitched to people in their 40s and 50s are products with high embedded fees, surrender charges that lock your money for years, and terms structured primarily to benefit the insurance company. Before signing anything with the word annuity on it, take the full contract to a fee-only fiduciary, someone who charges a flat or hourly rate with no commission stake in the outcome, and have them run the actual numbers. Trap 4. Waiting until all the debt is completely gone before investing. This feels like the responsible, clean slate version of the plan. It is the trap that costs late starters the most money and attracts the least attention as a mistake. The 401k employer match does not wait for a clean financial slate. Every month you delay capturing that match, money stays in your employer's pocket instead of your retirement account. The math is direct. A 100% employer match on your contributions outperforms the interest savings of even paying down a 22% credit card because the match is an immediate 100% return on money that then compounds for 25 years. Start the 401k at the match level the same month you start the debt payoff. Run both simultaneously. Get the match and kill the debt together. 3 objections I can already hear. First, Nick, there is genuinely nothing left after bills. I cannot afford to invest. For some people, that is literally true, and I do not dismiss it. But for most people who say it, what is actually true is that no budget has ever been honest enough to locate the money. A 3% 401k contribution on a $60,000 salary is $150 a month removed from your paycheck before it ever hits your account. Most people cannot meaningfully feel the difference between $3,200 a month in take home and $3,050. The employer match money captured in that exchange is worth tens of thousands of dollars, more at retirement than those $150 ever felt in any single month. Start at the smallest number that captures the full match. Increase it by 1% the next time you get a raise. Automate both. The math takes over. Second, I am so far behind that even doing everything right, I will never catch up. Catch up to what? To a benchmark designed for a median person with different income history, different life events, and different circumstances than yours. The $1.5 million retirement target that has been absorbed into cultural conversation is not your retirement target. Your target is the number that funds your specific life in your specific location at your specific cost of living. For most Americans, when you run those real numbers instead of the generic headlines, the actual target is meaningfully lower than what the anxiety suggests. Run your numbers, not the magazine's numbers. The gap almost always looks different when it has your name on it. Third, shouldn't I take more risk to make up for lost time? We covered this, but one more time briefly, because this instinct sends real people into retirement with meaningfully less than they built. A large loss early in a 2-5 year window causes more mathematical damage to the final outcome than almost any other event in the sequence. The person who loses 40% in year 1 of a concentrated bet and spends years 2 through 4 recovering is not catching up. They are standing still on a calendar that keeps moving. Uninterrupted time in the market. In boring, diversified index funds, beats almost every clever alternative over a 2-0 plus year horizon. This is not a close call in the data. Here is what you actually do this week. Not this year. This week. 1. Log into your 401k portal. Confirm your contribution. Captures the full employer match. If it does not, change it today. 4 minutes. The highest returning financial action available to any person with an employer match. 2. Open a high yield savings account if you do not already have one. Move idle money out of a regular savings or checking account into it. Start earning 3.5% while you build your emergency buffer. 3. Write down every debt above 7% interest. These get attacked first, with every available dollar beyond the 401k match before the Roth gets funded. 4. Open a Roth IRA. Fidelity, Schwab, Vanguard. Pick one. Open it today. Connect your bank. You do not have to put money in this week. Just open the account. Removing the barrier is its own step. 5. Set up automatic contributions to the 401k starting now. To the Roth once the high interest debt is gone. Automation is how you protect the plan from the version of yourself that will exist at 2 a.m. in a down market 3 years from now, looking at a sea of red numbers and a news feed full of reasons to sell everything and wait it out. This time is never different. The automatic transfer goes out anyway. High interest debt, emergency fund, full 401k match, Roth IRA. Maximize the 401k index funds. Automatic. Rebalance once a year. Catch up contributions at 50. That is the whole machine. And one day, without any drama, you are going to open the retirement tab again, and the number sitting there is going to be completely different from the one that gave you that quiet drop in your stomach on a Tuesday afternoon. Not because you were clever, not because you timed the market or picked the right stock, because you started and then you did not stop. Quick note before you go, I am not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. It is education and your decisions are entirely your own. If this video gave you the permission to start that you have been quietly waiting for, share it with one person in your life who has been putting this off for the same reasons you did. They are out there. Hit subscribe if you want more honest math about money. I will see you in the next one.